Look at me.
Amara's back arched off the bed, Di-young's name a prayer on her lips as his mouth traced a path down her throat. 3 months in Seoul had taught her body to sing under his touch, to crave the weight of him, the controlled violence in the way he held her like she might shatter. "Look at me," he commanded, voice rough with want, and she obeyed, meeting those dark eyes that had seen too much death and somehow still looked at her like she was salvation. His hand slid up her thigh, possessive, claiming, and she gasped. Jin-ho's cry shattered the moment. Di-young dropped his forehead to her shoulder with a sound between a laugh and a groan. "Your son has impeccable timing." "Our son," Amara corrected, already sliding out from under him, reaching for the robe draped over the chair. "And he's hungry." She padded barefoot across the connecting door to the nursery, her body still humming with unfulfilled want. Jin-ho stood in his crib, 3 months old and already showing signs of the stubborn personality he'd inherited from both parents. His mixed features were becoming more defined, Di-young's eyes, her nose, a perfect blend that made strangers stop and stare. "Come here, troublemaker," she murmured, lifting him. He latched immediately, greedy, and she settled into the rocking chair by the window. Seoul glittered below them, a city of 15 million that had somehow become home. The penthouse was her world now, 6 floors of freedom within carefully constructed boundaries. She taught at the academy 3 mornings a week, studied Korean in the afternoons, spent her evenings with Di-young learning the careful dance of loving a dangerous man. She'd stopped looking for the cage, started seeing the sanctuary instead. Di-young appeared in the doorway, sleep pants low on his hips, tattoos on full display. Even after 3 months, the sight of him made her breath catch. Silver hair mussed from her fingers, jaw shadowed with stubble, body language radiating barely controlled want. "You're starring," she said. "You're worth starring at." He crossed to them, knelt beside the chair, one hand coming to rest on Jin-ho's head. The baby's eyes were already drifting closed, milk-drunk in content. "I was thinking." "Dangerous." His lips quirked. "We should make it official, you and Jin-ho, legally mine." Amara's heart stuttered. "What are you saying?" "Marriage, adoption papers for Jin-ho, everything legal, binding, permanent." His hand slid to her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. "I want the world to know you're not just under my protection. You're my family, my wife, the mother of my son and heir." "Di-young." "You don't have to answer now, just think about it. I've already," he stopped, jaw tightening. "Already what?" "Had the papers drawn up, 3 weeks ago. Been carrying them around like a lovesick fool, waiting for the right moment." He pulled a folded envelope from his pocket, set it on the side table. "No pressure, but know that I've never wanted anything more than I want to bind you to me in every way possible." Before Amara could respond, his phone buzzed, then again and again. His expression went cold. "Stay here." He was gone before she could ask questions, and dread pooled in her stomach. She'd learned to read his moods, his silences. That wasn't business. That was threat. Jin-ho finished nursing and she burped him, changed him, settled him back in his crib. The monitors showed Di-young on the 7th floor, packing, phone pressed to his ear. Even through the grainy footage, she could see the tension in his shoulders. She was halfway to the stairs when Haewon intercepted her. "Mr. Kang said you're to stay on the 6th floor tonight." "What's happening?" "I don't know, but Min-jun just arrived with 8 additional security personnel. The building is going into lockdown." Amara's blood turned to ice. "It's Kojo, isn't it?" Haewon's silence was answer enough. Di-young stood at his windows, staring at Seoul without seeing it, Min-jun's words echoing in his skull. "He escaped 4 days ago, killed 2 guards, stole a supply truck, disappeared into the Russian wilderness. We just got confirmation he's back in the country, South Korea, Seoul." "How?" Di-young's voice was deadly calm. "Someone helped him, funded the escape, provided transport weapons. We're still tracking who, but the timing suggests." One of my enemies using him as a weapon. De-young's jaw tightened. He's coming here for Amara and Jinho. We've tripled security. The penthouse is a fortress. He can't. He's desperate, humiliated. Men like that don't think clearly. They just want to hurt what hurt them. De-young turned from the window. Where is he now? Unknown. Last confirmed sighting was at Incheon Airport 6 hours ago. Then he vanished. 6 hours. Kojo could be anywhere. Could be watching the building right now, planning, waiting for an opening. Pull everyone in, every asset we have. I want eyes on every entrance, every access point. Satellite surveillance on a 3-block radius. Hack into city cameras if you have to. De-young's voice dropped to something lethal. And if you see him, don't wait for my authorization. Put him down. Sir. That's an order. He threatened my family once. I gave him mercy. He won't get it twice. After Midjourney left, De-young stood alone in his bedroom, staring at the bed where he'd been buried inside Amara less than an hour ago, where she'd looked at him with trust and want and something that might have been love. He'd promised her safety, promised that his world would never touch her beyond the gilded walls he'd built. And now a ghost from her past was coming to prove him a liar. His phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. You took everything from me. Now I take everything from you, starting with the bastard. A photo attached, blurry, taken from a distance with a telephoto lens, but clear enough. Amara, leaving the academy yesterday. Jinho strapped to her chest in a carrier, smiling at something Director Park was saying. Kojo had been watching, waiting, learning her routines. De-young's vision went red. Amara woke to silence. Wrong silence, the kind that pressed against her eardrums and screamed danger. Jinho slept peacefully in his crib, the nursery monitors showing nothing unusual. But her instincts, honed by 2 years of surviving an abuser, were screaming that something was wrong. She grabbed her phone, 3:47 a.m. 17 missed calls from De-young, all within the last 20 minutes. Her heart stopped. She was reaching for Jinho when the lights went out. Not just her floor, the entire building, visible through the windows. Seoul's skyline glittered around them, but the penthouse was dark. Emergency lighting kicked in, dim red bulbs that cast everything in hellish shadows. Then she heard it. Footsteps on the stairs, coming up from the 5th floor. But De-young was on the 7th. Midjourney and the security team were stationed on the ground floor and roof. No one should be on the 5th. Amara grabbed Jinho from his crib, pressing him against her chest. He whimpered but didn't wake. She backed into the corner of the nursery, phone in one hand, baby in the other, and dialed De-young. It went straight to voicemail. The footsteps grew closer. She could see the stairwell through the open nursery door. A shadow climbing, limping, familiar in the worst way. No. Kojo stepped onto the 6th floor landing. He looked worse than she remembered. Thinner, scarred, his limp pronounced from the legs De-young had broken. But his eyes, those were the same, filled with rage and hate and the promise of violence. There you are, he said, and his voice was wrong. Broken, like his body had healed but his mind had shattered in that Russian work camp. Thought you could hide from me. Thought your rich Korean fuck could keep you safe. Amara couldn't breathe, couldn't move, could only stand frozen in the corner while her worst nightmare limped toward her. How did you get in? Her voice came out steady. Strange how terror could sound like calm. Your security is good, but everyone has a price. He pulled a gun from his waistband, not pointing it at her, not yet. And when you're offering revenge to a man who wants his boss dead, the price goes down considerably. A traitor, someone inside De-young's organization, had let Kojo in. What do you want? What do I want? Kojo laughed, and it was the sound of sanity snapping. I want my life back, my wife, my dignity. But since I can't have those, he raised the gun, pointed it at Jinho. I'll settle for making you feel what I felt, helpless, destroyed. watching the thing you love most die in front of you. Amara's world narrowed to the barrel of that gun, to Jin-Ho's soft breathing against her chest, to the 3 feet between her and death. "Please." The words scraped out of her. "Please, Kojo, he's innocent, he's just a baby. He's proof you hoard yourself to another man, proof you were never mine, never loyal, never worth." His voice cracked. "I gave you everything and you spat in my face. You gave me nothing." The words came before she could stop them, fury burning through fear. "You took everything, my money, my time, my self-respect. You hit me and called it love, starved me and called it discipline. You didn't give, Kojo, you took. And when I finally found someone who actually valued me, you couldn't stand it." "Valued you?" His finger moved to the trigger. "He owns you, keeps you in a fancy cage and calls it protection. You traded one prison for another and you're too stupid to see it." "The difference," Amara said, voice shaking with rage she didn't know she possessed, "is that Di-young's cage came with respect, with safety, with a man who doesn't raise his fist every time I speak. You want to know why I chose him? Because he's what you never were, a man instead of a monster." Kojo's face twisted. "Then watch your man's bastard die." The shot was deafening in the enclosed space. Amara threw herself sideways, turning her body to shield Jin-Ho, waiting for the impact. It never came. She hit the floor hard, Jin-Ho screaming now, and looked up to see Min-jun standing in the doorway, gun smoking. Kojo was on the ground, blood blooming from his shoulder, weapon skittering across the floor. "Touch them again," Min-jun said, voice flat, "and the next one goes through your skull." Then Di-young was there, appearing like an avenging angel, silver hair wild, wearing only sleep pants, tattoos stark against his skin. He took in the scene, Amara on the floor with Jin-Ho, Kojo bleeding, Min-jun smoking gun, and something in his expression turned utterly inhuman. He crossed to Kojo in 3 strides, hauled him up by his throat, slammed him against the wall hard enough to crack plaster. "You came into my home." Di-young's voice was conversational, terrifying in its calm. "Threatened my woman, pointed a gun at my son." "Fuck you," Kojo spat blood. "I should have killed her years ago, should have." Di-young's fist connected with his jaw. Once, twice, 3 times, methodical, controlled. Each impact calculated for maximum pain without granting the mercy of unconsciousness. "Di-young," Amara's voice cut through the violence. "Stop." He froze, fist raised for another blow, and looked at her. She was standing now, Jin-Ho pressed against her shoulder, her eyes dry despite the tears she should be crying. "He's not worth it," she said quietly. "He's not worth your hands, your time, your rage, he's nothing." Di-young stared at her for a long moment, then dropped Kojo like garbage. "Min-jun, take him to the basement. Make sure he understands what happens to men who threaten Kang family. Then put him on a boat. I don't care where it goes, as long as it's far enough that he never comes back." "Sir." "Alive," Di-young's jaw tightened. "My woman asked me to spare him, so he lives, but make sure he spends every day of that life regretting he didn't die tonight." Min-jun dragged Kojo from the room, and then it was just Amara, Di-young, and their screaming son in the emergency-lit nursery. Di-young moved toward her slowly, hands up, like approaching a spooked animal. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, couldn't speak. The adrenaline was crashing now, leaving her shaking. He gathered them both into his arms, careful, gentle, so different from the man who'd just beaten Kojo bloody. And Amara buried her face in his tattooed chest and finally let herself break. "I've got you," he murmured against her hair. "I've got you both, you're safe. I swear to God you're safe." He was going to kill Jin-Ho. The words came out broken. He was going to if Min-jun hadn't. But he didn't. "Jin-Ho is fine, you're fine, and Kojo will never touch you again. Never even think your name again without remembering what it cost him to threaten you." Jin-Ho's screams had subsided to whimpers. Di-young took him gently, cradled him with the same hands that had just dispensed violence, and the baby quieted immediately. "How did he get in?" Amara asked. "One of my security team. He's already been dealt with." Young's voice went hard. "His family will be compensated for his death and blacklisted from every organization in Asia. No one betrays me and lives." She should have been horrified, should have recoiled from the casual way he discussed murder. Instead, she felt only relief. "I need to check you," Young said, handing Jinho back to her. "Make sure you're not hurt, that you didn't." "I'm fine, we're both fine." But she let him run his hands over her anyway, checking for injuries, his touch clinical despite the tremor in his fingers. When he was satisfied, he pulled her close again, and they stood there in the dark nursery while Seoul's emergency services began arriving below. Police, Young's people, cleanup crews to handle whatever Midjourney was doing to Kojo in the basement. "I'm sorry," Young whispered. "I promised you'd be safe here. I failed." "You didn't fail, you had a traitor. That's not the same as." "I should have anticipated it, should have had better vetting procedures. Should have." He stopped, jaw working. "When I saw his message, the photo of you and Jinho, I lost my mind. And by the time I got here, you were already." "Midjourney got here in time. That's what matters." "If he hadn't." "But he did." Amara pulled back to look at him, this dangerous man who'd given her everything and still thought he'd failed. "You built a fortress. You surrounded me with protection. And when one link broke, 10 others held. That's not failure, Young. That's why I'm still alive." He kissed her then, desperate and claiming, and she kissed him back with equal fervor. When they broke apart, Jinho was asleep again, somehow finding peace in the chaos. "Come to bed," Young said. "All of us, top floor, where I can see every entrance." Amara woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. For a moment she forgot. Then memory crashed back, Kojo's gun, Midjourney's shot, Young's rage. She bolted upright, reaching for Jinho. "He's here." Young sat in a chair by the window, shirtless, Jinho sleeping peacefully on his tattooed chest. Been awake since 4, couldn't sleep, kept thinking about what could have happened. Amara slid out of bed, crossed to them. Jinho looked impossibly small against Young's broad chest, rising and falling with his breathing. "It didn't happen," she said softly. "But it could have. If Midjourney had been 10 seconds slower, if you'd been in the bathroom instead of the nursery, if Kojo had decided to shoot first instead of gloat." His arm tightened around Jinho. "I've spent 60 years building power, creating fear, making myself untouchable, and one desperate man with a grudge almost destroyed the only things I give a damn about." "What did Midjourney do to him?" "Do you want to know?" She considered. "No, just tell me he's gone." "He's on a cargo ship headed for Argentina. He'll work off his passage over the next 5 years, and when he arrives, he'll have just enough money to survive if he's careful. Midjourney made sure he understands. If he ever tries to contact you, if he ever sets foot in Asia again, if he ever speaks your name to anyone, the next ship he boards will sink before it reaches port." "And the traitor?" "Dead, as are 3 other security personnel I wasn't certain about." Young's voice was flat. "I don't take chances with my family's safety. Not anymore." Amara should have felt something about that. Guilt, horror, moral outrage. Instead, she felt only gratitude that Young was the kind of man who eliminated threats completely. "The papers," she said. "The ones you showed me last night before everything happened." "You don't have to." "I want to. Marriage, adoption, all of it." She knelt beside his chair, taking his free hand. "I was going to say yes last night before Jinho interrupted. I'm saying yes now. Make it legal. Make it binding. Make it so the whole world knows Jinho is yours and I'm yours and we're a family." Young's eyes went bright. "You're sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." She squeezed his hand. "I love you. Took me 3 months to admit it, but I do. I love your control and your violence and your obsession with protecting me. I love that you break people who hurt me and build empires to keep me safe. I love that you hold our son like he's made of glass and still manage to be the most dangerous man in Seoul. Amara, marry me, Di-young, make me your wife. Make Jin-ho your legal son and heir. Bind us to you in every way that matters. He kissed her, careful not to wake the baby sleeping on his chest, and it was the gentlest claiming she'd ever experienced. Yes, he whispered against her lips. Yes to all of it, today if you'll let me. I'll have the papers notarized by noon, filed by evening. By tomorrow, you'll be Amara Kang and Jin-ho will be Jin-ho Kang and the whole world will know you're mine. Today is good, she agreed. The wedding was small. Just Haewon and Minjun as witnesses, a notary Di-young kept on retainer, and Judge Kim who owed Di-young enough favors to perform the ceremony in the penthouse at 10 in the morning. Amara wore a simple white dress Haewon had somehow procured in 2 hours. Di-young wore a black suit that probably cost more than her old yearly salary. Jin-ho slept through the vows, content in Haewon's arms. Do you, Di-young Kang, take Amara as your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold in sickness and health, for richer or poorer, as long as you both shall live? I do, no hesitation, total certainty. Do you, Amara, take Di-young Kang as your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold in sickness and health, for richer or poorer, as long as you both shall live? She looked at the man who'd rescued her son, destroyed her abuser, built her a gilded cage that had become a home. The man who'd taught her that protection and possession could be the same thing, that love didn't have to be soft to be real. I do. Judge Kim smiled. Then by the power vested in me by the Republic of Korea, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Di-young kissed her like a man claiming treasure, and Amara kissed him back like a woman who'd finally found home. The adoption papers were signed after. Jin-ho officially became Jin-ho Kang, with Di-young listed as his legal father. No mention of biology, no asterisks, just a family bound by law and choice. When everyone left, Di-young pulled Amara onto the bed, Jin-ho between them, and they lay there as the sun climbed higher over Seoul. Mrs. Kang, he said, testing it out. Mr. Kang, she replied, smiling. I like the sound of that. Me too. Jin-ho made a soft sound, his mixed features peaceful in sleep. Amara traced his cheek with one finger, marveling at this perfect thing she and Di-young had created. He's going to be powerful, Di-young said quietly. Heir to everything I've built. People will fear him, respect him, follow him. Or, Amara countered, he'll be kind, gentle, everything we weren't allowed to be. Can he be both? Powerful enough to protect himself, kind enough not to abuse that power. She looked at Di-young. This man who'd killed without hesitation but held their son like spun glass, and knew it was possible. Yes, she said, he can be both, we'll teach him. We'll teach him, Di-young agreed. 6 weeks later, Amara stood in front of her classroom, Jin-ho strapped to her chest in a carrier, teaching English to 15 Korean 5-year-olds who thought her baby was the most fascinating thing they'd ever seen. Mrs. Kang, one little girl said, hand raised. Why does Jin-ho look different from other Korean bobbies? Amara smiled. Because his mama is from Africa and his papa is from Korea, he gets the best of both worlds. Like me, another child piped up. My mama is Korean and my papa is American. Exactly like you. After class, she found Di-young waiting by the car as usual. But today, he held flowers. A massive bouquet of red roses that probably cost more than the school's monthly budget. What's this for? She asked, accepting them. Do I need a reason to buy my wife flowers? You never have before. Then I'm starting now. He opened the car door for her, helped her settle Jin-ho's carrier in the back seat, then slid in beside her instead of driving. His driver pulled away from the curb smoothly. Something happened, Amara said, not a question. Kojo's ship sank 3 days out of port. Storm, no survivors. She should have felt something. Relief, maybe. Guilt. Instead, she felt only a distant satisfaction that a threat had been permanently removed. "You're not upset," Di-young observed. "Should I be? He tried to kill our son." "Our son," he smiled, and it was genuine. "I'll never get tired of hearing you say that." "Good, because Jinho is ours, both of ours. And anyone who threatens him," she stopped, realizing what she was about to say, "deserves to drown in the middle of the ocean," Di-young finished. "It's okay to think it, Amara. It's okay to want the people who hurt your family to suffer. That doesn't make you like Kojo. It makes you human." "Is that what you tell yourself when you do what you do?" "No, I tell myself I'm a monster who found someone worth being monstrous for." His hand found hers. "You and Jinho, my family, my reason, everything else is just business." The driver pulled up to the penthouse. They rode the elevator in comfortable silence, Jinho awake now and babbling softly. Inside, Haewon had prepared dinner, Korean and African fusion, her attempt to honor both their cultures. They ate together at the table that had once seated two and now always set three places, Jinho in his high chair, making a mess of his pureed vegetables. After dinner, after Jinho was bathed and fed and sleeping peacefully in his crib, Amara found Di-young in his office on the 7th floor. He was reviewing contracts, reading glasses perched on his nose, looking younger despite the silver hair. 3 months of relative peace had softened some of the harder edges, though the danger never fully left his eyes. "Come here," he said without looking up. She crossed to him, and he pulled her onto his lap, contracts forgotten. "I've been thinking," he said. "Again, we've talked about this." His lips quirked. "About expanding. The academy where you teach, I could buy it, put you in charge, let you build the program you want, hire who you want, create something that's entirely yours." Di-young. "I'm not trying to control you, I'm trying to give you power, there's a difference." His hand curved around her waist. "You're brilliant with those kids, they love you, and you've told me 100 times how the current administration handles things, so take it over, make it better." "That's not how teaching works. You can't just buy a school and hand it to your wife." "You can if you're me." He was serious, completely serious. "I've already had preliminary discussions with Director Park. She's thinking about retirement, wants to travel, spend time with her grandchildren. If I make her an offer she can't refuse, the school is yours by the end of the month." Amara stared at him. "You already talked to her." "I talk to everyone, it's how I stay informed." He kissed her neck. "Say yes, build something, leave your mark on this city." She should have argued, should have protested the high-handed way he made decisions that affected her life. Instead, she heard herself say, "Yes." His smile was triumphant. "That's my girl." "Your wife," she corrected. "My wife," he agreed and kissed her properly. They made love that night with Jinho sleeping safely 2 floors below, monitors showing his peaceful rest. Di-young took his time, worshipping every inch of her body, and Amara gave back as good as she got. Afterward, lying tangled in his sheets, she traced the phoenix tattoo on his chest. "Tell me about this one." "Phoenix rises from ashes. I got it after my mother died. Reminder that you can burn down and still rebuild." "And the dragons?" "Power protection. My father had dragons, I made mine bigger, better. My way of saying I surpassed him." "The flowers?" "Korean national flower. Mugunghwa, for my mother, she loved them, planted them in every garden she could." His hand covered hers. "The Korean script on my ribs, it's her name, and a promise I made her the day she died." "What promise?" "That I'd never become my father, that I'd never make a woman feel the way he made her feel." His eyes met hers. "I've broken a lot of promises, but never that one." Amara kissed him, slow and deep. "You're nothing like him, you're everything he wasn't. Because of you, you make me want to be better. You were already good, you just needed someone to see it." They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, and for the first time in 60 years, Di-young Kang slept without nightmares. 3 months later, Amara stood in front of the newly renamed academy, Jinho Academy for International Learning, and watched as workers installed the sign. Di-young had insisted on naming it after their son. Let the whole city know this is Kang family business. Let them know we're investing in the future. The school had tripled in size under her leadership. More teachers, more students, more programs. She'd implemented a scholarship fund for underprivileged children, hired bilingual staff, created a curriculum that celebrated cultural diversity. And Seoul was noticing. Her picture had been in the paper twice, the African educator changing Seoul's international learning landscape. She'd been invited to speak at conferences, consult for other schools, write articles about her teaching philosophy. Di-young read every article, attended every speech, beamed with pride like she'd conquered continents instead of just teaching children their ABCs. "You're building an empire," he told her one night. "Just like I did, except yours is legal and changes lives instead of ending them. Is that your way of saying you're proud of me?" "I'm always proud of you. From the moment you looked me in the eye and called my penthouse a cage, I've been proud of you." Jinho was 6 months old now, laughing and babbling and showing signs of trying to crawl. He had Di-young's stubbornness and Amara's smile, and everyone who met him fell instantly in love. Especially his father. Amara had watched Di-young transform from a man who'd never held a baby to someone who could change diapers one-handed while conducting business calls, who knew every developmental milestone and worried when Jinho was even slightly off schedule, who read parenting books at 3 in the morning and implemented strategies with the same intensity he brought to running criminal empires. "He's going to be spoiled," Amara said one evening, watching Di-young play with Jinho on the floor. "He's going to be loved," Di-young corrected. "There's a difference." "Is there? You buy him everything. The nursery looks like a toy store exploded." "I can afford it. Why shouldn't he have everything?" "Because children need boundaries, structure. They need to hear no sometimes." Di-young looked up, Jinho clutching his finger. "Did you hear no enough growing up?" The question hit harder than she expected. "That's not the point." "It's exactly the point. You were told no your whole life. No money for college, no escape from your father's grief, no protection from Kojo's abuse. No, 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 until you believed that's all you deserved." He stood, Jinho cradled in his arms. "Our son will grow up hearing yes. Yes, you're loved. Yes, you're valued. Yes, you deserve everything good in this world. And if that spoils him, we'll deal with it. But I will not raise a child who doubts his worth." Amara's throat tightened. "Sometimes I forget you're not just dangerous, you're wise." "I'm 60 years old. I better have learned something." He passed Jinho to her. "Besides, you're the one teaching him boundaries. I'm just the one who spoils him and then lets you fix my mistakes. That's called good cop, bad cop. That's called partnership." He wasn't wrong. The call came at 2 in the morning, 6 months later. Amara woke to Di-young already out of bed, phone pressed to his ear, voice sharp with command. "Say that again, slower." She sat up, instantly alert. Jinho slept peacefully in his crib, monitors showing nothing unusual. "How many?" Di-young's jaw tightened. "And you're certain it's the Zhao family?" "No, no negotiations. They want war, we give them war, but not here. I won't have my family in the crossfire. Move them to the safe house in Jeju, tonight." He hung up, already moving, pulling clothes from his closet. "What's happening?" Amara demanded. "Rival organization from China. They're making a play for my Seoul territory. It's going to get ugly, and I won't risk you and Jinho being here when it does." "You're sending us away." "To Jeju. Private island, full security, everything you could need. You'll be safe there until this is handled." "And you?" "I stay here, end this, make sure they never threaten my family again." He was dressed now, already strapping on a shoulder holster. "Pack light. Minjun will be here in 10 minutes. I'm not leaving you. You don't have a choice. The hell I don't. I'm your wife. Jinho is your son. If you're in danger, we face it together. Di-young crossed to her, gripped her shoulders. They've already killed 3 of my people tonight, bombed one of my warehouses. This isn't Kojo stumbling around with a grudge. This is organized, professional war. Then let us fight it with you. You want to help keep Jinho safe. That's the fight I need you to win. Because if something happens to him while I'm dealing with this, I'll lose my mind. I'll burn Seoul to the ground, and I can't afford to lose control right now. He was right. She hated it, but he was right. How long, she asked. A week, maybe 2. Depends how quickly I can eliminate their leadership. You mean kill them? I mean eliminate the threat permanently. He kissed her hard and claiming, I love you, I love Jinho, that's why you're leaving, not because I don't trust you, because I can't function if I'm worried about you. 30 minutes later, Amara was on a helicopter with Jinho watching Seoul shrink beneath them. Minjun sat across from her, armed to the teeth, 3 other security personnel surrounding them. The Jeju safe house was beautiful, beachfront property, modern architecture, every amenity. But it felt like a prison without Di-young. The first 3 days crawled past. No news from Seoul except brief texts from Di-young, still alive. Miss you, soon. On the 4th day, the text stopped. Amara tried calling, straight to voicemail. She tried Minjun. I haven't heard from him either, but that's normal during operations. He goes dark to avoid tracking. For how long? As long as it takes. On the 7th day, still nothing. Amara paced the safe house like a caged animal, Jinho strapped to her chest, while scenarios played in her head. Di-young dead, Di-young captured, Di-young. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered without thinking, hello. Mrs. Kang. The voice was accented, Chinese, male. Your husband has caused us considerable trouble. Amara's blood turned to ice. Who is this? Someone who would like to negotiate. We have something you want. You have something we want. Perhaps we can make a deal. I don't negotiate with people who bombed your husband's warehouse, who killed his men. We're just businessmen, Mrs. Kang, same as him. We want territory, he wants to keep it. The solution is simple. He steps aside in certain areas, we leave his family alone. If you think threatening me will make him. We're not threatening you, we're offering you a choice. Convince your husband to accept our terms or watch Seoul burn. He's good, Mrs. Kang, very good, but we're patient. And we have resources he can't match. Eventually, he'll make a mistake. And when he does, everyone he loves will pay for it. The line went dead. Amara stood frozen, Jinho babbling against her chest, and made a decision. She found Minjun. I need to go back to Seoul. Mr. Kang's orders were, I don't care, get me a helicopter now. Mrs. Kang. That's not a request. I'm going with or without you, choose. Minjun stared at her, then nodded slowly. The boss is going to kill me. Only if he's alive to do it. They landed in Seoul 2 hours later, and Amara had never seen the city look so tense. Military vehicles on corners, police checkpoints, the air thick with smoke from something burning in the distance. Minjun's phone rang as they landed. He answered, listened, then went pale. What? Amara demanded. The Zhao family just hit Mr. Kang's main headquarters. He's inside. It's under siege. Amara didn't think, just moved. Take me there. That's suicide. Take me there. They drove through Seoul like hell was chasing them, Jinho miraculously sleeping through it all. The headquarters building was in the financial district, 30 stories of glass and steel that Di-young ran his legitimate businesses from. Smoke poured from the upper floors, gunfire echoed, bodies lay in the street. And in the middle of it all, through the shattered lobby windows, Amara saw him. Di-young, silver hair dark with blood, suit torn, fighting 3 men at once. Moving like the 60-year-old body he inhabited had never gotten the memo about age. Breaking bones, spilling blood, pure controlled violence. But he was outnumbered and tired. She could see it in the way his movements were slowing, how he was taking hits he'd normally dodge. "Get Jinho somewhere safe," Amara told Minjun. "Then get your people in there." "Mrs. Kang, you can't." She was already moving, sprinting toward the building, ignoring Minjun's shouts. She made it through the shattered lobby, ducking flying glass and gunfire, and screamed Di-young's name. He turned, distracted for just a second. It was enough. One of the Zhao soldiers got behind him, blade flashing. Amara watched the knife plunge into Di-young's side, watched him drop to one knee, and something in her brain snapped. She grabbed a piece of broken glass from the floor, jagged, sharp, and launched herself at the man who'd stabbed her husband. The glass caught him in the throat. He went down gurgling, and Amara didn't stop, didn't think, just fought with every dirty trick Kojo had taught her through 2 years of survival. She broke a nose with her elbow, shattered a kneecap with a fallen piece of rebar, became something feral and desperate and utterly unstoppable. By the time Minjun and his team arrived, the Zhao soldiers were retreating, and Amara was kneeling beside Di-young, hands pressed to the bleeding wound in his side. "You came back," he gasped. "I told you to stay in Jeju. And I told you we faced danger together." Her hands were slick with his blood. "Don't you dare die on me. Don't you dare leave me alone." "Not planning on it," he managed to smile. "But you just killed a man. Are you okay?" She looked at her hands, at the blood, his and someone else's, and felt nothing. "I protected my family," she said, "same as you." He laughed, then groaned. "That's my girl, my wife, my absolute equal." Medics arrived. EMTs. The fight was over, the Zhao family in retreat, but Di-young had lost too much blood. They loaded him into an ambulance, Amara refusing to let go of his hand. "Jinho," Di-young whispered. "Safe with Minjun, waiting for us." "Good, that's good." His eyes were starting to close. "Love you, both of you, everything." "Stay awake, Di-young, stay with me." "Trying but tired, so tired." "I know, baby, I know, but you don't get to rest yet. You promise me forever. You don't break promises to me." He squeezed her hand. "Never." The surgery took 6 hours. Amara sat in the private waiting room Di-young's money afforded, Jinho in her arms, Minjun packing like a caged wolf. Haewon arrived with food no one ate. Other members of Di-young's organization filtered through, offering respects and updates. The Zhao family had been decimated, their leadership dead or captured, their organization scattered. Di-young's final orders before the surgery: no mercy, no survivors, end it completely. And they had. Soul was his again, completely, utterly his. If he lived to see it. The doctor finally emerged, and Amara stood so fast she nearly dropped Jinho. "He's stable. The knife missed major organs, but he lost a lot of blood. He'll need weeks to recover, but he should make a full recovery." Amara's knees went weak. "Can I see him?" "He's still sedated, but yes. Room 714. She found him hooked to machines, bandaged and bruised but alive. So blessedly alive. She settled into the chair beside his bed, Jinho on her lap, and took Di-young's hand. "You scared me," she whispered. "Don't ever do that again." His fingers twitched in hers. Over the next week, she lived in that hospital room. Haewon brought clothes and food and kept Jinho entertained. Minjun posted guards at every entrance. The hospital staff learned quickly not to question Amara's presence. When Di-young finally woke, really woke, clear-eyed and coherent, the first thing he said was, "You stabbed someone." "I stopped someone from killing you," Amara corrected. "With a piece of glass," Minjun said. "You went feral." "I protected my husband, same as you do for me." He smiled and it was full of pride. "You're magnificent, absolutely fucking magnificent." Language, Jinho is here. He's 3 months old, he doesn't understand. Still, Di-young held out his arms and she very carefully placed Jinho on his chest. The baby cooed, grabbing at his father's hospital gown, and Di-young's eyes went bright. "Missed you," he told his son. "Both of you, thought about you the whole time." "We missed you too. And when you're recovered, we're having a serious talk about you taking on Chinese Mafia families without backup." "It wasn't without backup. I had 50 men. And you still almost died." "But I didn't, because my beautiful, fierce wife came charging into a war zone to save me." He caught her hand, pulled her down for a kiss. "Thank you." "For what?" "For coming back, for fighting, for being exactly as dangerous as you needed to be." He kissed her again. "For choosing me. Every single day you choose me. That's worth more than all the territory in Seoul." "You're delirious from pain medication." "I'm lucid enough to know I married a warrior, a queen, a woman who kills to protect her family." His smile was pure savage satisfaction. "You're perfect, absolutely perfect." She stayed with him through his recovery, watching him heal, teaching Jinho to recognize his father's voice. And when he was finally discharged 3 weeks later, she brought him home to the penthouse that had become theirs. Seoul sparkled below them, peaceful now, conquered, secured. "It's over," Di-young said, standing at the windows with her. "The war, the threats, all of it. For now. For a long time, I made sure of it, made examples, sent messages. Anyone who wants to challenge Kang family now knows exactly what it will cost them." "Is that how you want Jinho to grow up, in fear?" "No, in safety. There's a difference." He pulled her close. "I'm building him a world where he never has to fight the battles I fought, where he can choose to be anything, teacher like you, businessman like me, or something entirely different, free, protected, loved." Amara leaned into him. "We're really doing this, building a life." "We already built it, now we're just living it." He kissed the top of her head. "You, me, Jinho, whatever comes next, we face it together, as a family." "As a family," she agreed. 6 months later, Amara stood in front of Jinho Academy's new building, twice the size of the old one, state-of-the-art facilities, scholarship programs that would change hundreds of lives. Di-young stood beside her, Jinho strapped to his chest, looking every inch the proud husband. "This is yours," he said. "Every brick, every classroom, every child whose life you'll change. Your empire built on knowledge instead of fear." "Our empire," she corrected. "You funded it. You created it, I just provided resources." He kissed her temple. "I'm proud of you. Have I mentioned that today?" 3 times, 4 counting now. "Not enough. I'm proud of you. The woman you've become, the mother you are, the wife who stabbed a man for me." "That was 1 time. Still the sexiest thing you've ever done." She laughed and Jinho joined in, giggling at his parents' joy. They cut the ribbon together, cameras flashing, reporters asking questions about the African educator who'd married Seoul's most mysterious businessman and created an educational revolution. Amara answered them all with grace, never once mentioning that the mysterious businessman was actually a reformed crime lord who'd killed to protect his family. Some secrets were worth keeping. That night, after Jinho was asleep and the penthouse was quiet, Di-young pulled Amara onto the terrace garden. Seoul glittered around them, a city of millions, and somewhere in that vast sprawl, people feared the name Kang, whispered about the man who'd consolidated power and the wife who'd fought beside him. "Do you ever regret it?" Di-young asked. "Marrying me, binding yourself to this life?" Amara looked at him. This silver-haired man who'd rescued her son and given her the world and loved her with a ferocity that still took her breath away. "Not once," she said honestly. "You gave me everything I didn't know I needed. Safety, respect, love, a family, a purpose. I gave you a cage. You gave me wings. I'm the one who chose to stay in your orbit." She took his hand, laced their fingers. "I love you, Di Kang, every dangerous, obsessive, protective part of you, and I wouldn't change a single thing." He kissed her like he was drowning and she was air, and Amara kissed him back with equal desperation. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to hers. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For seeing me, the real me, not the monster everyone fears or the businessman I pretend to be. Just me, Di-young, a man who loves his family more than power. That's who you've always been. You just needed someone to notice." They stood there as Seoul breathed around them, two people who'd found each other in the worst circumstances and built something beautiful from the wreckage. Inside, Jinho slept peacefully, safe and loved, and surrounded by everything his parents had fought to give him. And somewhere in the darkness, threats still lurked, enemies still plotted, challenges still waited. But Amara wasn't afraid anymore. Because she had Di-young, and Di-young had her, and together they were unstoppable. The cage had become a kingdom. The captor had become her partner. And the broken woman who'd given birth to an Asian baby in terror had become a queen who ruled beside her king. Not a perfect ending, but a real one. And sometimes that was better. If you loved Amara and Di-young's journey from rescue to partnership, from cage to kingdom, hit that subscribe button. There are more stories of dangerous men and fierce women, of love that doesn't apologize for being possessive, of families built from chaos and choice. Drop a comment telling me which moment had your heart racing. Was it when Amara stabbed the Zhao soldier? When Di-young proposed? When they finally became a real family? Let me know, and I'll create more stories that make you feel this alive. Until next time, remember, sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is trust someone who promises to protect you. And sometimes that's exactly what saves you.